right, Mr. Alexander. Davante, thank you for coming and being on time.
Oh, bro, thank you.
You showed up earlier than me today. I apologize.
Of course.
For not being on time as usual. But again, thank you for being here. This is the first episode of The Mortgage Coach.
Is that what it's called?
I don't know. I thought about that on the way down. I totally just
The
made
Mortgage
that up.
Coach. I like it, dude.
I figured because I'm a coach.
You're coaching.
I help out with youth athletes and sports, and I figured I'm in the lending space. We'll see if Mortgage Coach.
I think it
sticks
fits,
around.
bro. I think it fits. I think we're live now. We're recording.
Yeah.
Okay. How we met at AAA, I was a young kid. I had just gone broke in real estate. I don't think you know this part of my story, but we'll get to that later. How you just took me under your wing, and I remember sitting there calling the quoted not solds. And at AAA, there was sauce, right? Like there was agents killing it. You're like, how are they doing it?
Yeah.
And there was sauce, but no one was giving the ingredients.
Yeah.
No one. And that quoted not sold list was bullshit. And you know it was. No one was closing multiple deals off that thing.
Yeah.
And I was just pounding the phones, and you kind of, over the next few months, like, hey, here's what you need to do. You should slow your roll, focus on this, focus on writing good business, taking care of your clients, in an environment where that wasn't the norm. The Mortgage Coach is perfect because you kind of took me in and coached me up from the beginning. And
I appreciate that. Okay, that's what you're alluding to. You're like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
hey,
bro.
Coach, I was like, because we got to get to where.
Yeah, I think that's perfect.
We're gonna kind of take people to kind of how you and I met and kind of built this, this relationship that we've built over. Man, I kind of lose track of time. I don't know how long it's been. I met you at what age, Davante? Not to kind of throw your age out there, but what age did I meet you?
22 or 23, I think.
22 or 23, and you had no kids at the time.
No kids.
You're now a father of two.
Yes.
Right, father
Thankfully.
of two.
Thankfully.
We'll still leave your
Blessed.
We'll still leave your age out of there, but we've
That doesn't bother me.
No, it doesn't bother me either. So we've known each other for some years now. And just kind of tell me a little bit before we kind of jump into our relationship and kind of what we do. Tell me a little bit more about kind of where it all started for you, like just the basics. Where are you from? Give me some background there.
Yeah. First of all, I wear this hat on special occasions only, and this is such a special occasion, bro, because you have your own shit now.
Yeah, I know. We've been talking about this.
I've been telling you for years, like, bro, you need to bring your shit to the market. People need your help.
Yeah.
And I've seen you help people in insurance. I've seen you help people in mortgage. And now that you're branching out on your own, I think you just offer so much more value to what you could before.
Yeah.
But born and raised in San Diego.
Okay.
My mother, long-time salesperson, she always told me, you're either going to be a lawyer or you're going to be in sales.
Okay.
And in high school, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer because I remember I listened to Nipsey Hussle's The Marathon. And he's talking about making money and all this stuff and being productive for your community. And I was like, how can I do that? And I thought I wanted to be a lawyer because I'm like, lawyers can make $250,000. And I was like, whoa, that's a lot of money. And so I got my grades up. I went to summer school, and I started looking.
Got the grades up and summer school?
Oh, brother, I was on a kill streak with just getting my academics in order. And I was working part-time at McDonald's, bro. Yeah. At McDonald's. And this dude drives through in an M3. The new M3, and at the time, the old M3 was my dream car. This dude pulled up in the new one. I was like, dude, how did you make your money to afford this car? He's like, bro, I sell real estate. And I'm like, and I just went to the library the next day and started looking at everything.
That was like the first aha moment.
That was kind of like, maybe I should start looking into sales. Like, my mom was like, lawyer or sales? So I kind of had these things in my head.
So grew up in San Diego. Mm-hmm. That's where you were raised.
Yep.
Okay. Where'd you go to high school in San Diego?
Mission Hills. San Marcos. Go Grizzlies.
And then I just want to make it clear to our audience, what do you do as a profession?
I represent the finest properties for the finest people in America's finest city.
There you go. So we got Davante Alexander, the real estate agent here in San Diego. That's one of his main focuses, but truthfully, Davante kind of has his hand in a lot of different facets. It's one thing that's always interested me about you is that you've always been forward thinking, even before, you were a young kid and you made your first dime. You had all these ideas that you used to share with me. And truthfully, over the years, we've had so many conversations, right? And we've talked about, and we'll get into you moving to Texas, right? We'll kind of get there. But Davante and I kind of had a long distance relationship because he worked here with me in California. That's where we met at AAA, where I kind of took him under my wing and kind of showed him the ropes of the insurance business for some years. And then he blossomed kind of into this crazy insurance sales agent at AAA, and then ended up realizing that, California maybe wasn't for you, and you wanted to test the waters in Texas, right? Where was your mindset there? And again, we're kind of hopping around here, but where was your mindset there when you made that jump from? Because you were doing well, right? You were 23 years old.
23.
Made your first six figures.
Oh man, I didn't think I was gonna make six figures. That wasn't even on my radar. I guess we got to back up.
So back up. So talk about, so you think about real estate, right?
I think about real estate. I get this job converting Sprinter vans, like a Mercedes Sprinter van. They're real popular now. Like, you convert them into an RV. It was at Oak Tree Vans. A guy I knew it through my church was like, hey, come work for me. And I started doing woodworking, running electrical, converting these vans.
Oh yeah, you told me about this. Yeah,
I
almost forgot about that. Yeah.
And my schedule was 8 to 5, but I got on this fitness kick, and I was in the gym at 6 a.m. from 12 to 1 on my lunch, and again from like 5 to 7 after work. I was just hitting the gym, young, testosterone's blazing. I was in the gym all the time.
Yeah.
There was this dude there. He was really buff, strong dude, and I'd be in the gym at 6. He'd be there. I'd be there at 12. He'd be there. I'd be there at 5, and he'd be there. He drove a nice car. He always just walked around so relaxed. And I'm like, how is this motherfucker in the gym? Does he not work? Does he have an inheritance?
No, I know exactly what you mean.
And he would stare at me.
Yeah.
Like he wanted to whip my ass.
Yeah.
He'd always walk around the gym. He'd have a Seahawks thing on, big football fan. And I was just kind of nervous to go speak to him. After about 6 months of hitting the gym, I've lost a bunch of weight. I'm feeling strong. I'm like, all right, I need to use his machine. He's on the machine I need to use. Let me go and talk to him, see if I can work in with him, find out about his story. And I think every time I saw him, he's like just mean mugging me, like just really hard. I go up to him expecting some confrontation just because of how he's looked at me throughout the 6 months I've been going to the gym. And he goes, I'm like, hey, can I work in on that machine with you? He's like, nah, man, I'm done. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll take over. He's like, you know what, though? You look like Russell Wilson. And I'm like, is that why you've been looking at me? He's like, bro, yeah, you look just like Russell Wilson. And I'm like, well, cool, bro. And then we start talking.
Yeah.
And he tells me he's a real estate broker. And he essentially is like, hey, I'll help you get your license. I'll pay for stuff, whatever. Come sell real estate with me. And at this time, I'm like 18 and a half, 19 years old. I'm like, I don't know, bro. Not really my gig. Again, at this point, I thought I wanted to be a welder because I'm doing the trades. I'm like, welders can make good money, and I think I want to do something like fabricating. He's like, bro, just come test it out. I'm like, nah, man, no thank you. A couple months go by. He's like, hey, I think you want to come check out this open house I'm doing. I'm like, I don't know, bro. Like, bro, come check it out. And he had Eric Weddle's listing when Eric Weddle got traded to Baltimore.
Okay.
He got Weddle's listing.
So we're talking like circa 2019, maybe?
Weddle
there
to
you
Baltimore
go. 2019. Trade. There you go.
Long time ago. But I go there and I'm just kind of enamored. And he's like, all right, bro, come to my house and let's talk. And his version of talking was opening his drawer and showing me checks, bro. Look at this check. Look at this check. Look at this check. And he's like, the smallest check he had was like $8,000. And dude, I'm making $12.50 an hour doing van conversions. I'm like, $8,000 would pay my bills for 2 years. I was just like,
so was there any ask from this gentleman, or what was what was he alluding to essentially?
I think he just saw a young kid who worked hard in the gym, and he figured that would translate to the real estate business.
Yeah.
And if there's one thing I've always had, it's work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very good about like, okay, here's a specific task. You've seen it at AAA.
Hold on. You said something. You said work ethic.
Yeah.
Right. So where'd that come from? Like,
I don't know, bro. I wonder if it's genetic or nature versus nurture, I couldn't tell you. I wish I could point back and say, here's where my work ethic came from.
Yeah.
I've always just been the kind of guy that will see something and say, how did person get to here, and kind of work backwards from there.
Yeah. And the reason why I bring that up is because we've worked, hip and hip in corporate America together. And
the depths of corporate.
Yeah, the depths of
As
corporate
corporate as it
America. Shout out, I don't know if we can shout out AAA, but shout out AAA.
AAA changed my life.
Yeah, AAA changed my life financially.
Yeah.
And I feel very, very grateful for that company. But the reason why I say that is because you were a young man. You came in, and one of the things that I remember about you is you asked questions, right? That was the number one thing that you did right when you started talking to me, is you started asking me questions. And then I had told you, if you were serious about it, then come in at 6 a.m., right?
I remember that.
I told you because you wanted to learn how to use the back end of Huon's system.
I remember that. That was the sauce.
You wanted to know how to be quick. And I said, hey, brother, I don't have time during the day because I'm trying to support a family. But if you're serious about getting better, I'm here at 5:30 every morning. Our doors didn't open until 9 o'clock. But I was one of those guys who I like to get in early, right? Get some stuff done. And I remember the next day you were there, brother. And we were going through back-end Huon, and I was showing you how to package policies. And, so I
think I had 2 policies to package.
Yeah, I know.
I had nothing going on.
Well, the reason why I bring it up is because some people talk about it. Some people talk the talk, and then some people walk it, right? And the reason why I bring it up for the cameras is because I've seen it, right? And you were doing that at a young age. We're talking, 6-7 years ago now. Anyways, I just wanted to touch on that real briefly about your work ethic. But tell me a little bit more. So you were talking about work ethic, and then you think genetics. You think you?
I don't know where it came from. I couldn't tell you. That's my answer. I don't know, brother. Okay. I think my mom was. I remember growing up, my mom did car sales. She did real estate, and then she got really, really good at selling cars. And I remember watching our lifestyle go from
Why was mom such a hustler? Give me some background there.
Just broke.
Okay. Taking care of kids.
Yeah, my dad worked as a technician in the electrical business, and he did all right, but it wasn't anything groundbreaking, or my mom had to work, right?
Got it.
And my mom, I don't know their finances, but I remember watching her get in the car business and just seeing our lifestyle change. All of a sudden, they bought a house.
For the better, you're saying?
For the better, right?
Yeah.
We lived in Oak Hill Apartments in Escondido.
Okay.
Those are some of my core childhood memories, and all of a sudden we have a nice house out in Hemet, and they're driving nice cars, and it was because she was going to work. But I remember one of my birthdays, my mom came home at 2 a.m. because she'd been working in the car business, bell to bell, closing deals, and she brings me this toy Cadillac Escalade with spinner rims on it. That was my shit.
How old were you?
I must have been, I don't know, 7 or 8, bro.
You got to remember those core memories, man. Those core memories are the best.
And I'm looking around, and I just remember the lights or that color were just in our kitchen, and I'm looking at this Escalade that she got for me and brought home. This is sick. And all that, it didn't click till years. I'm like, why did that happen at 2 a.m.?
Yeah.
She's fucking working.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we just figured out where
maybe
where Davante got his work
I don't know.
From.
I don't know.
Mom's been hustling. I have a core memory, very similar, but it's not a car. It's the first pair of boxer shorts my dad got me. They were Spurs, and I put them on, and I ran outside our house in Linden Vista, and he was like, "No, those aren't shorts. Those are underwear." Yeah. I was like,
"They feel like shorts, though." I feel a little bit faster in them too.
Man, that was the early '90s. People didn't know back then. Your relationship, I guess you would say, with this gentleman, these other real estate agents lasted for a few years, right? You had some transactions. You learned a ton about the business. Just to summarize things, you learned how to market yourself, things like that.
I mean, I learned it, but I never executed. And I think, education is free, but implementation costs money, and I was broke.
Okay.
So
Say that again for the people to hear.
The education is free, but the implementation costs money.
Absolutely.
Right? I could give you a play on how to be a phenomenal real estate agent and list luxury homes, but that takes years of executing and fucking up and learning how to do stuff. So the implementation costs money.
Before you say anything else, it's funny you say that because that's what Corbin and I were talking about the other day, is that there's out there in these podcasts, and there's so much content out there where people are talking about, making money and the moves that they've made. But Corbin's like, hey, I need some direction, right? And I think everybody else out there needs a little bit of direction. And to hear like, hey, I didn't just get here. I didn't just make double-ended deal and make X amount of dollars on it because I just started here. Truly, this started when I was 18 years old. I'm just seeing the fruits of that labor. And trust me, I didn't stay in the real estate business this long. I took what was after your 18 to 20 stint in the real estate industry, or 21, whatever age you want to call it.
I'm with old boy. Still to this day, one of my first mentor in real estate. He's a hustler. He's still killing it.
Okay.
Me and him we still talk on a regular basis. But I went over to Pacific Sotheby's because I wanted to go for luxury, and I was hitting this like glass ceiling, not having a brand behind me.
Okay.
And being a young kid, mixed African American, I had an uphill battle already.
Okay.
I was driving a 2001 Toyota Echo with 300,000 miles on it. The side of it was dented because my sister wrecked it. I couldn't open the passenger door. I had 4 gallons of water in the back because the radiator would just leak and it would overheat.
So you were struggling.
I was just a kid. I was broke.
Yeah.
So I would pull up this car to a $2.5 million home in Rancho Santa Fe and have to walk 2 blocks because I parked my car. I don't,
Fake it till you make it, brother.
One suit for a year, one suit. In that suit, I had the receipt from Kohl's.
Hey, you don't got to tell me. You only had 2 pairs of pants when you started at AAA.
You know how I am. And I think that kind of like, hey, it's not about the outfit. It's about the input of action.
But truly, a lot of people don't understand, like, you were a young kid, and take it back to AAA and we'll get back, but you were making good money, yet you were very conservative for a very long time. You wouldn't buy yourself anything. Well, bro, I was like, dude, you need to get more shirts to wear. Davante, you wearing the same 2 shirts.
I wore 1 shirt for...
Yeah, you were...
And I was making decent money at AAA, but my real estate stint, I had started closing deals, and I would get checks, large checks. I'd blow them. I was young. Right, I would go to the Padre games and take my friends. I would dinners on me. I would just blow. I can't even tell you where the money went. That's what happens when you blow money. And so I had this stint of like having success, getting money, not reinvesting into myself or to my business or to whatever investments. And
which is common at a young age or any point in somebody's life. Right?
I would not trade that lesson for the money that it cost me.
Same here, brother. Same here.
I just wouldn't.
Yeah.
And so when I got to AAA, I started seeing money coming in. I'm like, all right. I don't know how long this is going to last. It's the first time I had started making money like in corporate.
And prior to AAA, you were where?
Prior to AAA, I was at Geico.
Okay.
And at Geico doesn't pay very well for their agents. Shout out to Geico. They train well. If you're an insurance agent, you want to learn how to sell insurance. Geico will give you the volume necessary to really refine your craft. But with volume of leads comes decrease in pay. So I'm not complaining about my pay. I was doing just fine.
Yeah.
But I came out of Geico, and I was the fastest person. They have tiers of volume of calls you'll get. The fastest person ever to go from nothing to ultra tier. I think it took me like 3 weeks. I was just selling every policy that came across my line. And there came a point where I was like top 2 or 3 in the nation. And people were like, who is this kid? Who is this kid? This is like month 4. I'm crushing it. Talking all day on the phone. And then I just, one day I remember looking down, and I had this cord that was corded to my headset, and I had to clock out for 15-minute breaks. And I'm like, I just don't know if I want to live like this. But because I went broke in real estate was my dream. The whole time I was at Geico, I was building a website. I was shooting content. I was doing everything that I thought was necessary to give myself a brand.
Yeah.
In the luxury space.
Understood.
So Geico to me was like a vehicle to invest in my real estate.
And that's what you used to talk about a lot when you got to AAA, right? You would give yourself a little stipend, and then you were dumping your money into,
and that was it,
into investments, right? Yeah. And I remember that at a young age because I'm a father of 3, and I'm like, dang, man, this young kid's investing, but I'm like, he got nothing else to spend his money on.
That was the key.
You know what I'm saying?
That was the key.
You didn't have kids at that point, so life was a little different. So, okay, so from Geico, right, we made the transition to AAA, and you and I have talked a little bit about that, right, and your success at AAA.
I didn't even want to work at AAA. I called my mom the first day. Shout out to Letty Kupke. She was my...
Oh, shout out to Letty Kupke. She's a Hall of Famer.
Right? she was the person who did the training. Like, there was me and 3 other guys, and I remember going to the Escondido office, and it was sitting in the office, and I called my mom. I'm like, Mom, there's no way I can work this job. Yeah. This sucks. I'm in some cubicle. I'm watching corporate training videos, and she's like, hey, look, give it 3 months. If you don't like it, you can quit.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, 3 months. But the reason I actually stayed wasn't because my mom told me. It's because at Geico, I was making $19 an hour. AAA during training was paying me $24. And so I'm like, I'm going to take that spread on top of whatever I'm saving already off my 19 an hour. I'm going to invest it in my real estate.
Yeah.
And so as I'm training, I go to the different offices, and you would do what's called, I don't know, shadow days or something. And I'm asking the agents, how much do you make? Oh, I make this much. How much do you make? I make this much. And then I always make sure to ask the lowest performing agent, whatever branch I went to, how much did you make last year? Oh, I made $90K. Dude, I think I made like $38,000 the year before that. Like, I was no money.
No brainer.
Right? I was like, $90K. I was like, I'm coming from Geico where I was a record breaker. I will kill it here.
Yeah.
I should make at least 75, 80K. That was my thing. Because the lady on the phone was like, you'll make 75,000. I'm like, okay, if I can do 75 or 80.
Yeah, you're like, I'm in.
Oh, man. And so
okay.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm there. So fast forward now to we make the transition. You jump to Texas. I'll tell the story real quick just to simplify things, right? You make a decision to uproot and move to Texas, right? With your lady, and
she was pregnant.
She was pregnant at the time?
We just found out she was pregnant. My mom was pissed.
Are we name dropping, or we'll just do fiance for the time being?
Yeah, we'll just do fiance.
Fiance for the time being.
I mean, Brittany, I don't care. It's
yeah,
not
it doesn't matter.
Secret.
So Miss Brittany was pregnant. You were about to have your first son, and you decided to move to Texas. And I think that's where truthfully, bro, I think that's where our relationship really kind of evolved, right?
I don't know. COVID was a fun time in AAA.
Yeah, okay. We're not gonna get into
We had a lot of fun during COVID.
We were COVID was a weird time in the world. I don't even want to take people back there, but again, I think that's where our relationship evolved because when you have friends, right, it's really convenient to work with people and be side by side with people and call somebody your friend because you see them every day. It's a little different when somebody leaves the state and then you continue a relationship.
Stay in touch, yeah.
Right? And then, for you and I, it was, one thing I've always respected about you, Davante, and what I kind of, tell people is that you have a really interesting story just because you've always been forward thinking. You've always talked about, positivity. Every time that you and I talk, it's not that we're gloating. It's we're catching each other up on what's going on good in our lives, and then we're truthfully talking each other through what's going tough in our lives.
Yeah.
Right. And it's every conversation of, hey, we got to keep hitting the pavement. We know that things are going to turn in the right direction. Things are already going in the right direction. To stay positive, because I don't think enough men check on each other and have those conversations, number one.
Especially, it's tough to find dudes who are in sales.
Yeah.
Because the ebbs and flows of sales can be, you've heard it before out there, audience, whoever I'm speaking to, I don't know who will be watching this, but if you're thinking we're going into sales, take your lowest check from the last 6 months, and that's your budget, right?
Easy.
Don't take your commission check and, hey, I made $40,000 this month. Woohoo, I'm going to get a new car. Yep. No, look at your last 6 months and live off of that, because sales, it just ebbs and flows. And when you're in a downward, I don't know if you call that, it's probably an ebb, not a flow. If you're in the downward ebb, having someone to call who might be in the flow or who might be in the ebb with you, it's tough to find those people, because sales, people dabble their toes in sales, and then they hop out because it's fucking hard. Yeah. So it's tough to find soldiers who have the mentality and who've been tested for years.
We've seen it happen in our industry alone, right? I mean, the last 2.5, 3 years now, gosh damn. You jump into this finance space and you see all the money that people are making and hand over fist in that COVID time, and then we've dealt with a good 2.5, 3 years of those ebbs and flows,
it's
like
an
you're
ebb.
talking
It's
about.
Been
It's an ebb,
yeah.
Right? And the ones that have been strong, much like yourself, have been able to figure out a way to you know, to get through this storm and kind of not just stay above water, but thrive, right? Thrive in this environment and thrive in this, in the market that we're in today. So jump back to the real estate gig, right? And I'm going to give a quick summary, but you went with the insurance business in Texas, right?
That was strictly a money play. I remember looking at what they were making. You guys won't understand, but they pay you per unit. And it was like maybe 30% lower than I was making in AAA in the field. And the field has always been known for, so in the field, you have to generate a lot of your own leads. The DSU leads come to you. It was like Geico. And I didn't know anything about Texas. It was the middle of the election. What was it? Who was it? Trump and, was it Hillary?
Yeah.
And interracial couple. Born in Southern California. It was very.
So you're saying you voted for Hillary? Go on.
No, I didn't vote.
It's okay. We'll cut that. We'll cut it. I mean, we get it.
No.
I mean, you were saying I'm black. Okay, I get it.
Exactly. No, the point is, look, it was a tough decision to make, and it was a money move. And I remember we rented a house, having not seen it. And we got there. I didn't account for the time change. I'd never lived in another state. And we got there at 11 o'clock. We thought we'd be there at 9 o'clock. It was pitch black. And me and Brett walk in the house, and we just kind of look at each other. And we're like, what did we just do?
Yeah.
And we went to Walmart just to feel something familiar. Just to
feel like you're home.
Walmart's the same everywhere.
Ever Costco.
If you want to go to like Afghanistan and you feel away from home.
Listen, I used to do that in college.
Oh, bro.
I used to go to Costco, though.
Hey, look, is there a Walmart?
When I used to get homesick, I used to go to Costco. Mom and dad.
Yeah, and so I killed it at the DSU, broke records there, and then finagled my way into the tech space, into enterprise software sales and selling to, mind you, the whole time I got my real estate license in Texas immediately, started marketing, doing
the whole
deals.
time you were forward thinking. You were essentially floating this corporate job so that you can continue to invest in yourself.
Yes.
And you jumped into insurance for yourself after AAA.
Yes.
Right? You thought you were going to go that direction.
Well, I do have a small agency in Texas.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. In Texas. I apologize. So we have the agency in Texas.
Very small. It's not like I'm doing a ton of volume, but it's consistently growing.
Got it. And then you called me one day. And you visited San Diego a few times. You and Britt would come with your son, you know, your firstborn son now for weeks at a time, and you would just talk about, man, like it just, Dre, you're like, I don't care about cost. You would go back to Texas and you would say just being on the beach, being in the sand, just seeing active people.
Something spiritual.
You know, he's like, there's something spiritual about being back home, you know. And then you called me one day and said, I'm coming back right after a few years. Yeah. And I remember asking you like, dang, man, you just got out there. Like what, like, and you're just like, I don't know I just think, you know, we're having a daughter, right? We're having another child. We need to be around family. But aside from that, like something was just pulling you to come back home. Tell me a little bit more about that.
It was, for one, I kept getting calls from people in California like, bro, I wish you were here. This agent, I feel like I got taken advantage of. I'm talking like 5-6 calls a year of people that I knew personally, friends and family, were like, damn, bro, like this is where you belong. I'm not happy with the transaction that just happened. Mm-hmm. Just terrible stories.
Which is really common, right? You get to people like after they've had it. I just had it happen with a few friends, right? Like I just went into business for myself, so I'm letting people know. And then people are like, dang, like I'm 3 days away from this closing, but it's been a nightmare, right?
Yeah. Or even you close and it's like, oh, now I have a question.
Yep.
And you're getting some customer service.
A lot of people don't think about that.
Yeah, they don't think about it. And with real estate transactions, what did it for me was at the time I was doing my own marketing for the agency. And I was getting leads coming in. And I was just like, whoa, this is working, right? And I'm like, okay, these people are telling me they need my help. I'm figuring out a marketing play to get the phone to ring.
Yeah.
And then I just started to pray, bro. Like with my daughter on the way, I prayed for weeks. And I asked God, like, show me signs. And I'd get a little sign. I'd be like, all right. I'd write it down. I'm like, all right, God, show me more. Right? Like, let me make sure I'm not just running from something.
Yeah.
And I continue to pray. And then I called my uncle who kind of my spiritual guy. Like if I need to talk about the Bible, scripture, get some biblical advice on how to make a move.
Yes.
He's like, look, man, you're doing the right thing. Just keep praying. And I just kept praying for like another week. And then this is going to sound so crazy, but I remember thinking about, it was like a cloudy day in Texas. And I remember thinking about something in California, and then a lightning strike. I'm like, man, that's the last sign that I need. And it was just like perfect timing. And then I, boom, started looking for places here in California. I think we moved out in the next month. And, here we are. I mean, the
yeah.
business.
So fast forward that, right? You get out to Cali, you call me, and you say, "Hey, Dre, I need you to go to this place and get my keys for me because I'm still in Texas."
Yeah,
so what do?
100%.
I come up in the clutch, I get your keys for you. But aside from that, you know, you come down here, you have a lot of ideas of what you want to do and how you want to have success in San Diego. And I'm talking to you at that point. I'm working for a different lender, and I'm driving home from Orange County.
We don't want to name drop the lender?
It's okay. We don't need they don't need any more marketing than they already get during the playoff series.
Let's go.
Shout out Padres.
Let's go Padres.
But anyway, so, you know, you and I had these conversations, you know, for times on my way back from Orange County, and I was happy to hear when you told me, "Hey, Dre, like I'm pretty serious about jumping back into the real estate space. You know, let's get this thing going," right? And right away, you know, we were doing everything in our power. The minute you said you were jumping back into that space, you and I got going, right?
Yeah.
And we tried to work some deals, you know, having opportunities with clients and conversations. So just tell me a little bit more about you in the real estate space since you've been back to California. I want you to talk a little bit about your transactions and kind of what you think separates you from everybody else, brother. And yeah, keep it simple.
I'm going to tell you right now, no one cares about my transactions. They don't care. When I go to clients' houses, and they're looking to sell, it's not about what I've done. Obviously that counts, right?
Yeah.
Do you have the experience to help us? It's about putting people first.
Okay.
What are you trying to do? What are your needs? And I think, you know, my mom tells me this all the time. She's like, no one cares about money. No one cares. How can you help them? Selling your home is a huge thing. And I think an agent is supposed to be experienced in making the transaction as beneficial as possible. And it sounds like slogan-y or cliche, but as smooth as possible, because the emotional turmoil of selling your home probably means like, oh, well, I'm moving to Texas sight unseen. Like I've been there where you're jumping into a next chapter of your life and making sure people feel confident in their decision with the data that's backed by like, hey, here's what you're doing right now. Here's why it's a good time.
Yeah.
And then also having that empathetic side, like, hey, I get it, right? Like the amount of times people at the closing table, when you get a signed contingency release and it's the deal's final and now it's just waiting for closing, that's when people start to go, oh man, am I making the right move? And I never say, hey, yes or no. I always tell people, look, I don't know if you're religious, whatever, pray on it, talk to the universe, meditate, whatever you do, and you'll have your answer in the morning.
Yeah.
And I've had people decide not to do it, and I've had people decide, no, this is the right move. But I think commission breath is a real thing in this industry, and you
Understood.
cannot be a fiduciary.
Tell the people what commission.
You need the
breath
money.
is. Yeah.
You need the money. Like, so how can I really serve you to the best of my ability if you backing out of something that's not right for you is going to affect my financial stability and my ability to provide for my family? And I think this whole roundabout thing that I've done, from like kind of staying in real estate and keeping the, the grapes on the vine, even though they're withering, that has allowed me to get to financially a place where I don't necessarily need your deal to close, for my family to be fed and for me to take vacations. And that, you can tell the difference between an agent who needs it for the money and an agent who's doing it to serve his client.
Two things you touched on real quick. Number one, you talked about the right timing. And that was one thing that I wanted to touch on with you is like, I think one of the biggest things that I come across as a lender, right, is that people talk, well, yeah, when the market gets better, when this, and one of my biggest things with everybody is like, hey, you don't know until you know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look at numbers. Let's make sure that it makes sense, right? So tell me your kind of mindset with timing or
you said like, hey, what makes you different? Having done insurance is all actuaries in the background saying, here's the risk, here's what we need to charge for the risk for us to be profitable. It's data. Tech, when I sold enterprise software for tech companies, it's all data-based. Here's a problem you have, here's how much it's worth to solve, here's what we're charging, what's your return on investment? No one's spending money
Understood.
for fun, at least not in tech or insurance. They're doing it to be protected or to improve their business. And so that perspective has allowed me to look at real estate and say, okay, what does the data say? I've had 2 people call me and say, hey, we want to sell our home. Like, hey, now's not statistically speaking, if you look at the data, you want to list Q1 towards the end of Q1, beginning of Q2. That is the best time. There is the most demand. So if you need to sell your home, you have a job offer, I'm still the best guy because my marketing is pristine and I know how to create a bigger market for your home with digital marketing strategies that's going to drive qualified buyers into your property, not looky-loos.
And we're going to get there.
Yes.
I want to talk about your marketing strategy in a second. I know we only have a few more minutes here. I wanted to touch on one more thing that you talked about. So you talked about timing. Mm-hmm. And then gosh dang it, I wish I had a pen and paper because I just forgot. You talked about timing, D, and then you talked
timing,
about
strategy, and data that validates the first 2.
but I wanted to touch on your ability to get your buyers seller concessions, right? I mean, it's something to talk about, right? Whether we keep it in here or not. I only know from a lending standpoint when we did the deal and deal, regardless of how it finished. Having those concessions there from a lending standpoint is huge because you get your client, depending, let's just use a $20,000 number here just to be safe, right? And that's unexpected from a lending standpoint, and that comes up a week into the contract. We have so many unexpected expenses that come up, right? A few day lock extension that we weren't expecting, or taxes ended up being more that these people have to come up with at the last minute that they think
you don't truly know until
3
to 5 days before the contract
100%.
is ready to close.
100%.
And so I think again, insurance and tech, they're kind of dog industries. Like you're competing against other salespeople who are phenomenal and who have corporations behind them spending millions of dollars to earn the same business you're earning. So you have to be a dog, and I don't mean like a dog, but like you have to be aggressive for your client's interest. So the deal you're talking about, he was originally quoted 7.25%, 7.125, 7. I don't know. We got him down to a 6.49 interest rate in an environment where anything below 7 was rare and unexpected. You do that by negotiating. People think that lenders can be, that's why I like working with you. You're very upfront. You're very aggressive for the client. But if you just go with whoever you want to go with, they're going to make as much money as possible. They'll put you in an 8th point higher because they get some money on the back end, right? And I worked at said mortgage company. I guess we're not name dropping for 3-4 months. And I remember this lady called in. This is what did it for me. This was the moment. She called in and she had a deal she didn't call in, I called her. She's like, hey, I'll go with you guys, but here's what they're offering me. And it was like she had $30,000 in closing costs on the lender side. And because she was up with a competitor, they cut their closing costs by $25,000, $30,000 and blew them out the water. And I was like, I didn't really know that was a thing.
Yeah.
And so for those who don't know, I did get my license in mortgages. It's not my profession, but I know enough to be dangerous. And so knowing that you can, I don't want to say pit lenders against each other, have a lender that you're loyal to, but definitely get some numbers and look at them so you know you're getting the best deal. And then as far as concessions go, if you're looking to buy a property, I work mainly with sellers. The buyers that I work with are referrals, friends, or family, okay? And the reason I do it is because when I work with the buyer, it takes a lot of time because you're quarterbacking a whole transaction, title, escrow, lending, and then the actual buy transaction, and they all have moving pieces that have to come together. I can't work with 50 buyers at a time and be as effective, right? So I work with buyers as they're referred to me, friends or family, because the strategies I employ are just time consuming. So if I have a buyer, getting them concessions, that is a strategy that's put in place when you get your pre-approval and you haven't even seen a home.
Yeah.
Okay, how bad do you need to move? I need to move because of this, that, and the third. I'm not in a huge rush. Cool. Here's the plays we're going to run if you're in a huge rush. Here's the plays we're going to run if you're not. And the properties you decide to look at and how long they've been on the market, the price reductions, that's going to play into how many the concessions you can get.
Yeah.
But there's also a point.
So you're giving people those options prior. Those are conversations you're having.
It's all strategy.
When clients are coming to you,
all
just
strategy.
to have that initial conversation.
100%.
Tell me a little bit more about your marketing strategy, because I know you and I kind of talk about this. The best way to kind of, I hate to use the word penetrate, but penetrate the market, right? And get in front of people. Get in front of people is really tough from kind of like an individual business standpoint or an entrepreneurial standpoint. So tell me about your marketing strategy and kind of a little bit about what you're doing right now.
So my thing is
or just your mindset around things.
Oh, yeah, my mindset. Okay, real estate is saturated, and especially in San Diego. San Diego, this is where you come to live the real estate dream. Here, LA, Florida, there's 5 to 7 markets in the United States that have average sales prices like San Diego, and they're saturated because the best of the best come here to compete. And so I think my tribe gravitates to me, and the people who want to gravitate to me, they want to know they have a bona fide professional that's representing them at every angle, protecting their interest, right? And 2, they're going to have a really boutique service.
Yeah.
I don't do so much volume to where I can't have a personal approach with every single client, because, again, it goes back. My whole thing is start with strategy. Mm-hmm. I can't sit down and strategize with 50 people at one time on the buy side. Yeah. I can do 5 to 7, and we can have a great strategy, and they'll get a deal that they know is a good deal. So all that goes like, hey, how do you get concessions? It depends. Show me a house on the MLS you want to put an offer in on. Let's go look at it. Let's figure out how we're going to strategize to get those concessions back, right? Home inspections is a huge one. That's probably the easiest place to get inspections. But there's also things that can come into play with, like, hey, look, I want the house really bad. They don't want to budge on price. It's been on the market for 2 days.
Really common.
Right? Okay, well, let's go in over asking, ask for a credit of that amount back. I had a deal I did in Texas a few months ago where.
Say that again. So you went in over asking.
She was short $7,000.
Okay. And
the home had just hit the market.
Okay.
And the Texas market's slowing down a bit, but she's like, hey, look, Davante, I don't care.
Let's hear a sales price. Just give me a number, like 400,000.
I think it was $290.
Okay.
$290, small home. She's like, I don't care about the price. And this is actually a family member. I can afford the price whether it's 20 over or 20 below. Okay. What I care about is getting this home specifically. But here's my dilemma. Okay, I'm short at this price. I'm short $5,000 or $7,000
on down payment.
Okay. Which is huge. Yeah. FHA buyer doesn't have a ton of cash. Family referral. So, looking at the comps, I know the agent was asking a little bit less, and I called the agent. I got the situation. It's probate, right? They're selling because someone died. They really want asking, but they don't really need it. And so I'm not trying to take advantage of the sell side. Not trying to take advantage. I know my buyer can afford what she wants to afford. And in this case, we could have lowballed her, but there's a chance that she would miss out on the home that she really wanted. So I said, hey, look, let's go $7,000 over ask, and I'll have that credited back towards you. So you're almost wrapping the cost of that into the loan over 30 years.
Just financing it.
100%. But in Southern California, as inventory continues to rise, and days on market continues to rise, there's more opportunity to do that without going over asking, right? Like, hey, look, we want to give you this. Once you get into a contract with the seller loses all leverage.
Yeah.
They're contractually obligated to sell you that home as long as you can perform.
Yeah.
And I always tell this to my sellers, like, it's about bringing the offers in, qualifying them, finding out about the buyer's needs and desires, because I know the plays they're trying to run on me.
Yeah.
Because I try to run the same plays on their agents.
And that's really important, because, like, at some point somebody's going to be watching this, and they're going to be sitting on their couch, and they're going to be saying, dang, I'm spending way too much money in rent. I know I am, right? I do well for myself, and at some point I need to get in a property, but I don't have the down payment. And that's one of the biggest things that people are worried about today. So it's always good for you guys to know at home that we have real estate agents out here like Davante who can take care of you, help you out with closing costs and bringing money to the table, and just having that knowledge. More importantly.
Just to be clear, I can't finesse your down payment. You can't use concessions towards down payment.
Yes.
But when you look at, okay, let's say you have an extra $10,000 to play with. You talk to Dre, hey, Dre, what would a $10,000 2-1 buy-down look like for my mortgage rate over the next 2 years? That could save you $300 or $400 a month. And then as the market corrects and adjusts, and we know rates are going down, right? The Fed just lowered 0.5 point. They'll probably go another 1.25 throughout the end of the year. Now you have options to refinance in the future at a lower rate. And you have 2 years of this eased payment. It's not an arm. I don't want people to think it's not. That's not what it is. We'll get into the specifics. If you have a question, call Dre. But there's options to ease the financial burden, and people are like, oh, $10,000. That's not a lot of money until you look at your closing costs. You're like, wow, that's $10K in my bank.
Yeah.
I don't have to say goodbye to $20,000, $30,000, whatever it might be. Concessions can be the difference between.
Well, I think one thing, and when we talk about concessions, we're just talking about overall cost of the loan, right? One thing that
closing costs,
one thing that
taxes.
One thing that Davante and I pride ourselves on when we do business with clients is being as transparent as possible, right? From the start of the conversation. I think on the lending side, a lot of people have questions about cost. On the real estate side, they're more talking about just what homes are looking for. It's a little bit different of a transaction and conversation, right? But it's very important for you and I to have those conversations and stay in communication, because the cost is being talked about on my end. I might need some help on your end, or I might need you to have that conversation for me to help explain things. Just really important of being a part of a team and not just dealing with some random real estate agent and then some random lender, because
or a huge mortgage house. These guys can't run the place.
There's so much that can go wrong. And
we've seen it happen.
We've seen it happen, and the average person doesn't understand it. And not knocking any other lenders, right? I think everybody has their place for a reason, but again, just to leave everybody with this, really important to work with a real estate agent that has a preferred lender, because that communication is huge.
100%.
And anything can go wrong.
It'll blow your deal up if you think, I'm going to work with this guy because he's promising me this. It's either going to blow your deal up, or B, you're going to get to, what is the cooling off period? It's like 3 days or something before close.
Yeah.
You're going to be staring at these numbers. You're going to want the house.
Yeah.
And you're going to probably just sign with less favorable terms and conditions on your loan, and that person will probably never call you again. Who knows? Not speaking for everyone, but in any industry, most of the people doing business aren't professionals that have their livelihood staked on said. They're testing it out. They're doing it as a side gig. When you operate at the level that we operate, it does me less good to make a commission off of a client that's going to go in bad mouth. I don't work for commissions. I work for referral business. I work so people can say, this dude had my best interest at heart. And there's a reason why I work with Dre exclusively, because Dre is the first person to say, hey, it's not a good time. Let's revisit this in 6 months. 6 months, I'll keep you on XYZ. I'll follow up when this happens. And if we're telling you it's a good time, it's not because we're just want a commission. It's because it's legitimately a good time for you to make said move.
Yeah, and I appreciate you noting that. I mean, I think the number one thing for me on the lending side, right, and I tell all my clients, numbers speak for themselves.
They
right?
do. When they give you a gut feeling.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, you know it. I'm not here to sell you on anything. I just want to make sure you have the correct numbers in front of you. That's the biggest thing that scares me. And my wife and I ran into this issue in 2018 and got screwed out of a really nice home because the lender at that time didn't fact check and do their job. So anyways, that's my job as a lender, to make sure people are protected so that the day of signing, we have no issues. You get the keys to your house, and Davante's job is to make sure you get the home that you're looking for. And that's what we do, brother. We're born and raised here in San Diego. We're back home together, raising families. We're fathers up in North County in Carlsbad. I feel really blessed to have Davante here to share his story. This is such a small window into who this guy is. He was very, very humble, in this episode, but truly, this guy is family. I love you.
Love you, bro.
Thanks for coming on. We've been talking about this for a long time.
Of course.
And Corbin, huge shout out
Thank
to
you,
our
brother.
videographer and photographer, Corbin.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you guys for everything. This is the first episode of The Mortgage Coach. Go Padres.
Let's go. Go Padres. Congrats, brother.
Thank you guys.